sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Tuesday, May 13. In all transparency, this podcast was recorded prior to the Dallas Stars and the Winnipeg Jets. So that's why you're not going to hear any update of the score. Brought to you in part by Bomboloni Boss. Now available in all metros in Quebec. Their website has a store locator to find the grocery store nearest you. Chocolate fudge, dulce de leche, and pastry cream available. You just thaw them for a couple of hours and enjoy. Basically, they kind of look like a donut, but they have a different texture and they taste so much better. Bomboloniboss.com is the website. You have to check them out. Once again, they're an amazing story. And they're in all metro grocery stores in the province of Quebec right now, which is pretty cool. Also brought to you in part by Bittt Tibi. They launched their new Ultra Lager. You see the fridge behind me. It's a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for summer with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can. Available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. It's ultra light and ultra refreshing. Poker history is being made once again at Playground. Join us for the Moneymaker Tour's first stop in Canada until May 20. Be part of the action. Playground is hosting the Moneymaker Tour from up until May 20th with over $1.4 million in guarantees. This year, chance experience world-class poker alongside the tour's namesake, 2003 WSOP main event champion, Chris Moneymaker. That's not all. Chris Moneymaker himself will be at Playground playing in all events and hosting an exclusive meetup game on Saturday, May 17 at 4 p.m., where you can take a seat and battle with the legend himself. Speaking of legends, he's a former NHL defenseman legend and RDS hockey analyst legend. He's in the studios of RDS right now. He's there. Denis Gauthier, how are you?
I'm awesome, Tony. How are you?
Very good. I got good news and bad news. My good news is that we started doing report cards for NHL, for Montreal Canadiens players, head coach Marty St. Louis, general manager Kent Hughes. My bad news is we have a very, very difficult one for you today. Let's bring up the graphic. There you have it, Lane Hutson. This is going to be really, really tough for you, Denny. But all kidding aside, Denny, I'm happy that you're here to do Lane Hutson because obviously you played the position in the National Hockey League. You played it for a long time. You know everything that it entails. You know what he's good at. You know what he needs to be better at. You know the degree of difficulty of some things that he was able to pull off, and some of the things he was able to do. So with that, let's get started. What were your expectations for Lane Hutson going into the season? Here's a guy that was at Boston University last couple of years, put up pretty good numbers. A lot of people were saying, you know what, this guy has NHL tools. He can quarterback a power play. But there was that doubt for some about his 5'9", 162-pound frame. Your thoughts?
Well, you know what? Thanks for the softball to start with for giving me Lane Hutson. That's great. I'm going to knock it out of the park for sure. Listen, my expectations for Lane Hutson this year, I really had none. I know Stéphane Leroux had kept talking to me about it at the studios at RDS, how good he was and how much skill he had. And he was like, oh, he's going to have an impact right away. I kept doubting him because I'm like, there's no way a 5'10" kid rookie can come in and just he's 150 pounds all wet, soaking wet, and he can make a difference with all the big boys and battle in the corners and in front of the net and try to distinguish himself over 200 feet of ice. So I had serious doubts. I thought he was going to hit a wall early. I thought just because of his size and how frail he was and looked physically. And it's the furthest thing from that we've seen from him right from day one, right from camp. Not intimidated at all. He used his assets like not many other players use their assets so early in their careers. He was quick, he was smart, heads up plays, moving pucks, darting into holes, three-stepping out of them real quick, finding lanes, beating guys one-on-one. And you know what? Defensively, he started off, I don't want to say shaky, but just trying to figure out how to play defense against NHL players instead of college players, and he got a hold of that very quickly. He knew he couldn't battle physically with any of the guys basically throughout the league, so he had to battle them, mentally with good sticks, good positioning, and he just waited his time for opportunities to come and did it the right way. And when Matheson went down, power plays became available for him on the first power play, changed the way the whole Canadiens team played for me, I thought, during the year.
So it's funny, you're talking about with his frame and puck battles. So I think it's an opportune time that I can bring up a stat. Let's take a look at the amount of defensemen that play in an NHL season. So 32 teams, there's 6, you're at 192 there, plus extras. Let's just say anywhere between about 250 defensemen in the National Hockey League. All right?
Yep.
He finished 32nd among puck battles won for defensemen. 32nd, 5'9", 162 pounds max. That's what he's listed at. Doesn't mean he's that, by the way. That's a huge accomplishment. That's one that no one's going to talk about. But about 250 defensemen to finish 32nd for puck battles won at that size. Could you imagine the level of the brain?
No, it's off the charts. I mean, it's hard to describe. It's unequaled, I would think, in many other defensemen around the league, even the best and the top elite defensemen. I think he has to be over all these guys because of his frame and his physical attributes. And you go into a battle and the way I think I figure it out playing against Lane Hutson, if I was a forward, if I was a guy battling with him, you always think you're going to end up being in a physical battle. You're going to crush him, right? You're going to box him out. You're going to play, get between him and the puck. It's going to be easy thing. And that's where he beats you. He beats you with smarts because he stick lifts you. He'll, come out of there. He'll roll off of you. Like he'll absorb some of the hits, but he'll just roll off and protect that puck and come right out. He's just so shifty left to right. So he'll make you bite on something and make you think he's going one way, finish your chick, and he's not there. So that's how he does it. That's just how intelligent, how smart he is in getting in, or I don't want to say getting in the battles. He's just staying away from a lot of the battles because he's so quick and smart. So it has to become very, very frustrating for any forward or anybody that's trying to get a hit or get a lick on him and try to engage him in a battle that he doesn't want to be in, and you want to bring him there because that's where you feel and know that you could probably have an entry. You saw a bit in the playoffs against Washington when he did get hit physically and guys were taking run at him where I felt he might have worn down a bit as the playoffs went in and trying to escape some of the hits, and then those pucks became free. But I mean, it's just elite. Everything's elite about him, and that's why he's just so exciting to watch.
Is he going to win the Calder Trophy? Let's bring up the graphic to show who's in nomination for the Calder Trophy. And there you have it. Do we have it? Lane Hutson of the Montreal Canadiens, Macklin Celebrini there on the graphic of the San Jose Sharks to his left, who's playing with Canada at the World Hockey Championships, by the way, and goalie Dustin Wolf of the Calgary Flames to his right. I saw other stats earlier today, and who's going to win the Calder Memorial Trophy? Well, I'm going to throw this at you. I saw some stats earlier today of goals for when Hudson's on the ice, goals against, and you compare it to any other forward or any other player in the National Hockey League, not a goalie, of course, and he's got the most positive influence on the outcome of a game. So with that note, he's the favorite to win the Calder Trophy. And if you'd like to put $1 or $2 on him, go all the way with Betway. Get a free bet up to $200. If your first bet loses, scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. You know, Denny, before the season started, you said you had a conversation with Stéphane Leroux, and Stéphane would tell you how good he was going to be, and you had your doubts. Well, the thing that I had my doubts about when I started watching Hutson over the last couple of years, but not much. I'm not going to pretend to. Highlights here and there was, and I saw what was the trend in the National Hockey League, especially with Leo Carlsson a year ago in his rookie season. I said, this is going to be a load management player for sure. If I was going to put $1 on Betway, there's no way I was going to put $1 on Lane Hutson playing all the games for the Montreal Canadiens this year. That would just absolutely defy the law of physics. And I wouldn't think that would be possible. And I would say, you know what? Chances are they're going to load management him because by making him watch games from the press box, A, he'll learn, but B, he'll be able to relax his body, a body that has never played more than 40 games at Boston University. And he'll be more effective if you actually give him a game per week off or a game off every 2 weeks. He played every game, Denny.
I know.
It's unbelievable.
And he forced them to put him in every game. You didn't have a choice but to put him in every game. He was that good. And he didn't, you know, he hit a bit of a rut somewhere around Christmas, just maybe January, or I can't remember if it was just before the Four Nations Cup. Where
it was, yes. Where the Canes had lost 8 of 9.
Yeah, so he kind of hit of a rut, but it's just the whole team did. It's not just him. He was kind of a victim of the whole situation there too. So maybe it was just the playoff run or the playoff chase that they were in. So it kind of grinded them. But, you know, that's the thing is that you expected him to maybe hit a wall earlier. You expected him to give him a few days off because physically it was so demanding. But his play dictated anything but. You're right. The Canadiens had no choice but to keep him in the lineup. He was that good. That team was better with him, even if he was smaller, if he was young, if he was a rookie. Montreal Canadiens, I find, are a different team. They change the way they play when he's in the lineup and when he's on the ice as opposed to when he's not. And it just changes the whole dynamics of their offense. You know, at 5-on-5, they're a lot more creative. They become a lot more dangerous than they ever were. Power play is the same thing now, especially with the plethora of talent that they've amassed, of young talent that they have there is very impressive. But it's night and day from when Matheson was running the power play to when he is. It's not a knock on Matheson. He's a good player, and I love what he brings to the team, and they need him. But it just brings a whole new dynamic that I almost want to say that there are only a handful of players around the league that have that impact on a power play, 5-on-5, you know, like you have to compare him to those Quinns and McCarrs, and he's that kind of guy that has that kind of impact on a power play blue line. So
we talked about load management, right? It never happened in the regular season, but you would think now you talked about him hitting a wall, which is normal, right before the Four Nations face-off, and right out of the Four Nations face-off, he seemed revitalized and he got a second wind. And then in the playoffs, yes, there were some struggles here and there, but he led the Montreal Canadiens players in points in the playoffs. And then he led all Montreal Canadiens in ice time in the playoffs as well with 24-50. Now, Mike Matheson led the Montreal Canadiens with players with time on ice during the regular season. But down the stretch, when the games were more important, when every game was a playoff game and the Canadiens needed to win the game to actually make the playoffs, Hutson became the guy that had the most ice time. So down the stretch, when you're thinking he's going to hit a wall because he's never played more than 40 and now he's played 80, he's playing games of 25, 26, 27 minutes. And in the playoffs, among NHL defensemen, he and Matheson tied for 24-50 of time on ice, but his 24-50 is 16th. How many teams make the playoffs? 16. That means there's one defenseman per team that has the most ice time, and Lane Hutson is there finishing 16th with 24-50. That too is remarkable, I think.
All the credit to him because, you know, he never takes a day off. Even when you want him to take a day off on practice days and off days, every day you see a report of him practicing stuff on the ice, and he feels he needs it. He feels he's better at it, and he keeps his rhythm, and that's great by him. But I mean, he's just become a real pro where he's trying to, own his craft and get better at it and stay stronger. And that's, I think a lot of it is personality and how you're raised and how the discipline that you have. Some of it may be the college approach too, as opposed to junior approach, and you do a lot more of off-ice stuff in the NCAA than you were in the CHL, let's say, because of the travel, because of the schedule and all that stuff. So the guy is in shape, and he knows how to take care of his body, and he knows his body. He knows when he needs it. He knows when to stay on, when to stay off, and when it mattered the most. The kid stepped up, and he's a gamer. And I talk a lot about game breakers and guys that can really elevate their games at the right time and the most important times. Lane Hutson is a game breaker. He's that kind of guy that will make a difference for the Montreal Canadiens eventually, and possibly winning a Stanley Cup. He'll have a big say in it.
All right. So how did he do compared to his Montreal Canadiens teammates as far as points, goals, assists are concerned? Why don't we bring up? Here we go. So Lane Hutson finished third on the Montreal Canadiens in points with 66 points. Caulfield had 70. Nick Suzuki, of course, led the way with 89. So he's their third leading point getter. His 60 assists, number one on the team, ahead of Nick Suzuki's 59 assists. So he finishes third in points, second in assists. And once again, he plays all 82 games. Not too shabby. How did he do compared to other NHL defensemen? Cale Makar had 92 points. Werenski had 82. Quinn Hughes at 76. Dahlin had 68. Bouchard had 67. Hedman at 66. And so did Lane Hutson. So he's seventh among NHL defensemen in points. Seventh. As you can see, Denny, on that list, Quinn Hughes is the same amount of assists. Cale Makar leads with 62.
Yeah.
So he's tied for second in the NHL with assists. Where he's behind is obviously goals, Denny.
Yep.
And I took a look at his shot percentage. It's 6.6%. He ranks 80th in the National Hockey League. So there's not too many negatives to find here with Lane Hutson. But if there's an area of improvement, I think it's safe to say it would be his shot.
Of course, and I think that goes a bit with obviously his size and strength, right? It's just obvious. It's physics. It's a lot of it is, I think. If he wants to up his goal total, which I couldn't care less, to be honest. If he gets the assist, 100-point player, 100 goal scorer, 100 assists, or if you're 100-0 or 0-100, you're on the ice, you created 100 points, 100 goals, right? So for me, the amount of goals doesn't really matter to me. But if you can add that to your arsenal and to your tool bag and have a better shot, make it stronger, maybe let it off quicker, maybe just if you don't do that, you're going to have to get in closer areas to shoot that puck to make sure you have a chance of scoring at a higher rate. But the bottom line, he's a record breaker, right? He tied records. He broke records this year of the oldest franchise in the NHL. And that tells you a lot. And that's why, for me, he's an obvious pick for Rookie of the Year. He helped this team get into the playoffs. So all the stats are great. And the way he brings them, it's great. I think it's just going to get better. With the team getting better around him, the players getting older, more mature, more skilled around him, he's going to be up there with a lot of those guys as far as points in the near future, I believe.
All right. Speaking of heck of a season, one guy who had more than his share of heck of seasons, Carey Price, who yesterday was named by the National Hockey League to the, of course, the team of the quarter century of the last 25 years. Well, Carey Price is going to be celebrated. We want to bring up the graphic if we can. The Sports Celebrity Evening honoring Carey Price on Sunday, May 25th. It's been known as the Cummings Center Sports Celebrity Breakfast for the last 20 plus years. Well, now it's going to be the Sports Celebrity Evening. Once again, Sunday, May 25th from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. It really is exclusive this year. It's a VIP cocktail meet and greet. His former teammate Paul Byron will be there. Other Montreal Canadiens players, past or present, to be announced. All of this is support for senior mental health and well-being at the Cummings Center once again. So tickets are on sale, limited quantities, $360. I can tell you the Sick Podcast is going to be there, and we will be broadcasting at the Sports Celebrity Evening, the Cummings Center Foundation. For ticket information, we have the website to give out, cjcsfoundation.crowdchange.ca. That's cjcsfoundation.crowdchange.ca. We look forward to seeing you there on Sunday, May 25th. The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by, once again, Playground and La Bittt Tibi and Bomboloni Boss and Betway, and also brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group. They are a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America. They're driven to be different. They're a top fleet employer in Canada. Let's bring up various graphics, if we can, all of the remaining graphics that we have. How about this one? The list, I love this one. And Guillaume Villemeyer of TVA Sport had put it up. The list of active NHL players who had scored 60 career assists before their 80th game. 700 players in the National Hockey League, active, 700. Two of them picked up 60 career assists before their 80th game. Connor McDavid, Lane Hutson. Denny, I have a feeling it's going to be easy for his agent the next year.
I think so. I think so too. It might be easy for him to find arguments and find a list of arguments to present to Kent Hughes. I don't know if Kent Hughes is going to be as excited as we are to put his name on a contract. But he's indispensable, and Hughes knows the Canadiens will need him to be a big part of this team moving forward. We'll have to have him long term. I just wonder, what's the range that we're going to give him? Like, a lot of numbers have been out. Like, is he part of that group of young guys that are going to be thinking, okay, I love what we're building. I'll leave a few dollars on the table to make sure that we can build something serious here and move along together in long term. But it's his first crack at having a big long contract, and numbers have been thrown out, 10, 11 million. Are we lucky enough to have him in the 9 range or high 8s or mid 9s?
We certainly can't blame him if he'd asked for 10. Put it that way.
Exactly, and the comparables are there, right? If
Yes.
we look around the league and where we're at and where the salary cap will be next year, and
Jacob Chychrun signed for $9 million several months ago.
Not for me, not in the same league offensively. Chychrun brings something else as far as physical play at times as well, but I mean, Lane Hutson is a point producer at a higher rate than Chychrun will be at that stage for sure.
So as a guy who played in the National Hockey League for 10 years like you did, and was, in that locker room, when you look up to your captain, and your captain is making almost $7.9 million, and he is the second highest contract on the team behind Patrick Laine, and a rookie comes in like Lane Hutson. If his contract, should Kent Hughes, he might not have a choice, but would you at all be worried if you give a player after one full season in the National Hockey League a contract making more money than your captain, who, by the way, that contract was signed 3 years ago, and a lot has changed in the last 3 years as far as, of course, the cap and all that stuff. But should there be a worry? Because we know that he is extremely well respected by his teammates. He earned their respect by being a team guy and being able to help the team and being a great player. If that contract was given, and I know only the locker room would know how accepting or not they would be, but do you think there's a risk that it can ruffle some feathers?
I don't think so. I think he looks like a genuinely good kid that is a good teammate, and he battles with the guys. He doesn't battle beside the guys. He battles with them. And that's a big difference for me. He's not self-centered. He's a guy that really thinks team first. And I try to put myself in that locker room. And what I realized, I understand Suzuki's the second highest paid player, but he's our long-term guy and he's a captain and all stuff. You don't sign an 8-year contract thinking you're going to be the best player in 5 or 6 years because the cap goes up. So you understand that part of the business. But what you also understand is he makes my team better, right? And the impact that he's had as soon as he stood on the ice this year and made his first stride and made his first pass and created his first offensive chance. You understand we have something special in this guy, right? It's just something different that we've never seen. We've never been beside on the ice. So I don't think it ruffles any feathers because everybody understands what he's doing, and he's like I said, he's breaking records of the oldest franchise in the NHL, and that's saying a lot. So this guy, I believe, deserves to be the best paid player on the team after this future contract.
Shane Gaumont, Master Control, bring up the remaining graphics if you can. Okay, most assists in a season by a rookie defenseman. When Hutson was accumulating those assists, we were looking like, oh, wow, it's Larry Murphy, 60 assists in 1980-81. Is there any chance of getting anywhere close to this? Well, when all was said and done, he tied it. And you have to wonder how many assists he would have had if he would have been on the first wave of the power play in the first month and a half of the season, because, of course, he was on the second wave of the power play. Other graphics? Canadiens defenseman with 60-plus assists in a season. Larry Robinson did it 3 times in his career. And now Lane Hutson has done it once. That's the list. PK Subban won a Norris Trophy here, Denny. Yeah. He never had 60 assists in a season.
Mm-hmm. You look at the names you're putting in this category with him. I mean, they're not just any defensemen. They're not just any names you're throwing out. There's some of the best defensemen that have played the game, the most impactful defensemen that have played the game. Other generation, he's doing it in another way, and I understand all that. But he's still the best for me. One of the best. He's breaking those records in an era where the hockey has never been faster, bigger, and stronger and more talented. So I mean, that's saying it a lot. Of course, I don't think he would have survived the same way if he would have played 30 years ago. Right, he would have been good, but obviously those players never made it to the NHL, or you wouldn't play defense anyways if you were that small. So it's just say it's opportunistic for him to play in this generation. But hey, if it's not him, it's someone else. But he's doing amazing things right now, and it's fun to watch. And who we're comparing with, and who he's battling with as far as stats and records and positioning and the history of certain numbers. I mean, it's just hard not to be amazed at everything that's going on.
Denny, we talked about areas of improvement. We brought up his 6.6% shooting percentage, which is 80th in the National Hockey League among NHL defensemen. You talked about the laws of physics, of course. He's not a big guy. He's not overly strong. Yeah. He is incredibly smart. And that's one of the reasons why his shot, obviously, there's an area of improvement there. We know that he's working on his shot. We know that with Adam Nicholas, the development team, we know that he puts in the extra time and the extra work. We'll see one day if he has a better shot, and if so, how much of a better shot. It's not going to be the nitpick because, of course, everything is a learning moment, but areas of improvement, which other areas have you identified for him to maybe get a little bit better?
Well, I think the sorting out part on the rush is going to be a bit of an adjustment. He's really good at it already, but, you know, the reading of neutral zone, who's coming at you, how many guys are coming at you, who's coming in support and back checking on my team to help out. I thought at the end of the year, I thought he got caught a few times in position being a little over too aggressive because we understand on the rush, he defends skating forward, right? He doesn't receive the rush like a lot of other defensemen. He brings his approach differently. In French, l'approche au porteur, I'm not sure what the term is in English, but is where you angle. That's just why he angles his guys skating forwards to defend on the boards and in the neutral zone, which he has to do because of his size difference. But there are times where I thought he became a little too over aggressive in doing it and got committed and gave a few odd man rushes. But listen, I'm nitpicking right now because there's a lot of stuff that it's going to be hard for him to improve besides just getting physically stronger and getting more physically mature than when he comes into confrontations, because inevitably in front of the net, around the boards, you're going to be exposed to, you're going to be in battles. It's just how the hockey is played. So that'll up your chances, but there aren't too many areas where where I have to say this is a glaring flaw of his that he needs to break, because he doesn't seem to have that many. So let's just
Yeah.
there's a lot of it that he's going to get better as the things I talk about with experience and having a few years behind his belt
You're right.
and having reps.
An example of that would be the Brandon Montour game-winning goal in overtime versus Seattle, right? Where they have both teams lined up 3 on the line.
Yep.
And he hadn't recognized that Montour already had one leg over the red line and he was already in motion, that he was going. It was a set play. And Chandler Stevenson was set to lose that faceoff. Dvorak wins it clean. And Montour was going to go off to the races the other way. He got caught. It's a learning moment. And you know what I love about Lane Hutson is that he made mistakes in the playoffs too, where maybe pinching at the wrong time. You know, there was a goal, game 1. Alexander Ovechkin was left all alone in front of the net. You see the look right away, the eyes, and he's like, that's on me. It's like he knew right away. One of the things I loved, and it's really, I brought this up when we talked about Marty St. Louis, is I also think that Lane Hutson found the best coach for him in his rookie season in the National Hockey League. And a lot of credit, I think, goes to Stefan Robida as well. A lot of coaches from the past, maybe old school coaches, they probably would have reacted differently to some Lane Hutson mistakes. Maybe would have sat him, maybe would have benched him, maybe would have even scratched him. Every single time I saw Lane Hutson make a mistake, I saw Stefan Robida go over, make him aware of it, give him the pat on the back and give him the encouragement. And I think that went a long way, Denny.
I agree. And you know what? Like, I think it's one of those things where a different situation where a team is not in a rebuild, a coach is an old school coach. There are different 100 different scenarios where everything would have been handled differently. The fact that Martin St. Louis, Stefan Robida are great humans, I'll put it this way. They've been in their shoes. They understand the feelings, the stress, the pressure of being in the skates and being a top guy, and the all the expectations that come with, you know, being an NHL player and a good NHL player. I think that really helped the patience level that we had with him and gave him the opportunity to fail. And being as good as he was, he succeeded way more than he failed, right? And the fact that even when he did make mistakes and cost goals or different things, is that we put him back there. That's good for confidence, of course. And we don't use the excuse, because we're in a rebuild, we're a young team, and we're on the upswing right now, is that we don't use the excuse that an other coach would be, well, maybe he's tired, we'll rest him. He makes mistakes because he's exposed and playing too much. That's not the situation here in Montreal. We understood, and we gave him that rope where he could hang himself, and he didn't hang himself. He just made plays, and even when he failed, he bounced back, he reacted. He's a character kid, and he knew, and the fact that he knew his mistakes right away, because his emotions showed it on the ice after you mentioned that Ovechkin goal, and there are a few others, and he understood it was his fault.
Yeah.
That's a sign of intelligence to me.
Yeah.
I know I don't need to come back to the bench. You don't need to tell me. I already know. I'll learn from it. I've lived it. I'll move on and make sure the next time that happens, it's not going to happen again.
Speaking of intelligence, and we'll wrap it up here. One of my favorite moments of the season was, I think it was Caden Gooley, but I could be wrong. But I think it was Gooley who said that he overheard Lane Hutson and Marty St. Louis having a conversation talking about hockey, and he said he was totally lost. Like he had no idea what they were saying. I thought that was kind of funny. Patrick Liney, who said, I play with a lot of players. I never played with a player like Lane Hutson. Never played with. And when Lane Hutson was asked to explain his game, I thought this was kind of cool. He said, well, some of the things I try and tell the forwards is I'm going to do my very best to draw as many players to me as possible, which will open up lanes and room for you, at which point I'll try my very best to find you.
Right.
And I think of a term, misdirection. I don't know if you ever watched the movie Swordfish with John Travolta.
A long time ago,
Yeah, but Harry Houdini, right? What the eyes see and the ears hear, the mind believes. And I think he did an unbelievable job of misdirection when he was on the ice. Like he would just you would think he's throwing something at you. He's fishing you in.
Yep.
And he's reeling you in, and then boom, and he's playing you. He's playing you, and I think that's a tremendous quality that he has.
Absolutely, and he's giving away bad information, and he's very unpredictable. You never know which way he's going. You never know when the puck leaves the stick for a pass or for a shot. 3 steps, sideways, sidestep. There's so many variations to his game that will give you false information that'll make you bite to a lot of stuff that he does. So that makes him really incredible. And we talk about IQ, and you talk about the conversation Martin had with Goulet or with Hutson and all that stuff. But I think it's at the level of intelligence where long time ago, you remember when Gretzky had that big quote, I don't go where the puck is, I go where the puck will be, kind of thing like that.
Yes. Yeah.
And to me, Lane Hutson has that kind of level of intelligence on the ice. Maybe it's adapted to today's game.
It's funny you say that. The first Montreal Canadiens development camp that I went to cover in Brassard, I went there and I see this kid, Lane Hutson, for the first time. I had heard of him, obviously. So I'm watching him play. I get into the car and I call my buddy and I said, I can't believe what I just saw. And he said, what do you mean? I said, I saw this Montreal Canadiens player. His name is Lane Hutson. He's a defenseman, but he plays like a number 1 centerman. And he said, what do you mean? I said, he sees the ice like Gretzky used to see it. I mean, I said, I can't explain it to you, but he's an unbelievable playmaker. And we saw that on defense. He's changing the game. It's pretty cool. Denny, the highest grade is A+. You don't have to feel forced to give an A+, by the way, because there are areas improvement. We have to agree there are areas of improvement.
Yep.
Having said that, this kid just did something that no other defenseman, only Larry Murphy, has done in the history of the game. 60 assists in his rookie season as a defenseman, 7th leading point getter among NHL defensemen in the National Hockey League, most assists by a Montreal Canadien this year, 3rd in points, led the Canadiens players in points in the playoffs, and led them with 24 minutes and 50 seconds of time on ice. All the stats that we talked about, we didn't even talk about zone entries, possession in the offensive zone, which is like in the top 5 in the National Hockey League in so many different statistical categories. Has the chance to win the Calder Trophy for the first time in Montreal Canadiens history since 1970, since the great Ken Dryden did it. What's your grade, Denny?
And it's easy for me to tell because I've been a rookie defenseman in the NHL. I understand how hard playing the position is. I understand how hard the adaptation is to be an NHL defenseman. The only thing missing here is a plus after your A+. It has to be plus kind of grade. It's just amazing what he did this year, and there's no other way to put it. He was like Canadiens' best player with Nick Suzuki, and is the top player on that team for me this year. So
A+ it is?
A+ it is for sure.
I agree with Denis Gauthier. He's bigger, stronger, better looking than I am and knows a lot more about hockey. Thanks, Denny. We'll talk to you soon.
Be good, Tony.
There you have it. Denis Gauthier, the RDS hockey analyst, and you can also hear him as a collaborator on Le Forum on BPM Sports, my sports radio show, Monday to Friday between 9:55 a.m. and 11:55 a.m. And Denny is there every Tuesday and Thursday. Special thanks to all of our sponsors. Energy Transportation Group is one. Playground is another. La Bittt Tibi is another. Bomboloni Boss and Betway. Once again, that Sports Celebrity Evening with Carey Price on Sunday, May 25th for Shane Gaumont and Master Control. It's an A+ for Lane Hutson. Go, Lane, go.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. La Vida TB, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.